Welcome to Good and Bad with Gabe Gerry. I'm Gabe Gerry, and on today's episode, we got Cleveland comic Cam Godfrey.
Hi.
Go ahead and say hi to the people.
Hi, the people. Happy to be here.
What do you do around the city? I try to do all plugs and stuff at the top of the show because I forget.
What do I do around the city? What a question. I host the Triple Threat show, the Monday night booked open mic at Imposter's Theater in Tremont. I also produce and host an improv show at Imposter's Theater called Dynamic Duos. In general, stand-up wise, I'm just all around. I never know how to answer that question. Do you know how to answer that question when people are like, where do you do stand-up?
Yeah, like your parents' friends and stuff.
Yeah. All the time I get, where do you do stand-up? And I'm like,
you say
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, you say open mics around the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some open mics, some people give me shows for some reason.
It's because you're funny, Cam.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah. Never let anybody tell you it's because you're a woman.
Thank you very much. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, but there are also unfunny women.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand it and I'm self-aware about it, but I do know, recently I got a new thing. Just the other day I was told, I was asked to be on a show and he said, I need my one woman on the show. And it was half joking, but kind of not. But usually people don't say the quiet part out loud like
that.
The
one part or the woman part?
The one woman. He's like, I need the one woman.
It's show business.
I get it. I wasn't offended. Yeah. I just, no one has ever said that out loud. It's usually just, an implied thing when you show up and you're the one woman on the show. But it was very interesting to have someone, to my face be like, yep.
Yeah.
Check.
The one part is funny to me, though, but you can't blow your load. You just really, it's not.
Can't use us all.
No, because.
I get it.
Well,
two women on one show.
Well, you could though, because there are guys that'll be on on the same show.
Yeah, that's another part of it where it's just
Well, you could book me every month.
Yeah. I don't know. There's no right answer to booking women in Cleveland comedy.
There is no right answer to booking women. How about you just don't do it?
No,
just avoid the conflict altogether.
Please do it, and please make an effort to do it. But I also don't think you should, in general, book unbookable people. But the thing is that people book unbookable men all the time.
They do. It's because they're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how those friendships. I know how they grow. It's just from going to the same shitty open mics over the course of 5 or 6 years. But
yeah.
So I wouldn't worry too much about it. You're gonna do comedy.
Yeah,
which is fun.
I didn't.
But this episode is probably gonna come out in May.
Okay.
And because of the delayed nature of what's happening with Imposters, Cam and I are hopefully at this point. I don't know how long the show's gonna run, but Cam and I are on the same sketch show, Imposters Theater sketch show, and hopefully at this point in May, 8 months late, Imposters Theater should be up and running in Ohio City. I don't know the exact location, but good theater. It's gonna be a really good sketch show. A lot of the I was going through our hard drive, our OneDrive. There are some really good sketches in there. It's gonna be a really good show. And there's a bar at the theater, and it's a good part of town. So, yeah. Imposter sketch show.
Come out.
Me and Cam are the only two people on it.
Yep.
This is the whole. It's a 2-woman show. Okay, Cam, you got any questions for me before we get started, other than what's in the bucket? Because I'm about to tell you what's in the bucket.
Well, I did listen to this podcast.
Oh my God, you're the first person to ever listen to it and then come on.
I started listening to the episode with Julia Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things you say in it is I don't listen to other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
And you're both talking about who would listen to this podcast before going on it. And
yeah,
I'm
a big nerd.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to kind of get the lay of the land.
You did your homework.
But so this bucket is full of things that I'm supposed to say are good or bad.
Wow, look at you go. Yeah,
I've always been kind of a teacher's pet.
Do you know what it's called?
No, I don't.
It's the good and bad bucket.
Oh, of course. Probably could have guessed. Probably could have guessed.
Yeah, just like you said, you're going to pull a card out here and you're going to tell me if that thing is good or bad.
All right.
And why.
Well, I hope that I'm going to recognize the things, because if they're like movies or music, I might not.
It's okay. There's plenty in here.
Song, Rude by Magic.
You have no idea.
No idea.
The one where it's like, why you gotta be so rude?
Oh, about like, so the
Don't
one
you
that's like,
know I'm
I'm going to marry her anyway. Oh, I do know this song.
Song
Bad song.
everybody knows, but nobody likes.
It's real bad song.
Dude, it makes me want to kill myself.
It's annoying. Like, it's like an annoying earworm to have to hear. I'm going to have it stuck in my head for the rest of my life. And it's bad. The lyrics are bad.
It's
the
just
sound
like a
is
bad.
bad.
It's like a bad story. It's like, oh, my girlfriend's dad doesn't like me.
Yeah. I know the point of this show, I believe, is that it's like there's no nuance on the internet and things have to be either good or bad.
Yeah.
And I think we started out on a good one that is just like uncontroversially bad. There is no nuance in this.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody on the internet say they like it.
It's always weird when a song that's that bad just like goes so popular.
Because it's
and
like you got to think like, oh, a wedding DJ?
Yeah.
Oh, easy money for a wedding DJ.
Yeah.
Because you can like dance and you could also sway, and it's just like rude, like the rude part of the chorus, like it's just like rude, like you. But it's so annoying.
So annoying.
It's like if I owned a gun, you wouldn't be able to play that song around me.
All right, good to know.
It would be a serious
good to know both
threat
that
to
you
my
don't
life.
own a gun and also not to play that song around
Yeah,
you.
it would be dangerous for others and myself.
Yeah.
To play that song around me. All right, that was a quick one.
Victoria's Secret fashion show. I mean, historically probably bad. Haven't they been being more inclusive lately?
How historic? Like 20 years, 40 years?
Yeah, I mean, not historically meaning like literally like in the past. Not even historically as in history.
Yeah. I don't know
like,
how long do you think like the Greeks did fashion shows?
I mean, I think they had more fun things to do. They were just having sex,
where they
right?
just rounded up their most beautiful people and like, look at us.
Yeah, in general, like just the idea of showcasing people as pretty objects to look at is probably not good.
I'm sure that probably didn't even start before we had like TV or like print magazine. Like before we had like print magazines.
Yeah.
You just like there was no baseline for attractiveness probably. Cuz like how would you judge that?
I think like there's always been like a standard of beauty like in painting and like
oh sure we always had that.
Yeah.
Not always, but yeah.
But I think in general like the like mainstream picture beauty standard,
the Eurocentric,
probably
at least I would say this. I don't think Victoria's Secret. Remember, like the early you were probably just born. You were. Oh my god.
You were also just born.
Yeah, but I like remember like 2005.
All right. I don't know.
But like in the mid 2000s, it was like anorexic thing.
Oh yeah. One point I will put in the Victoria's Secret fashion show column is that the Victoria's Secret fashion models are consenting adults. At least it's not like a child pageant, which I would say objectively
huge
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
No, I think Victoria's Secret was like, didn't they do like a trans model?
I think recently there've been like a lot of like the first ever blank,
yeah.
different types of women, and it's like it's in general very weird in 2023 for me to ever hear it's the first ever blank to do this
and like be impressed by it.
Yeah, it'll be like the first ever Asian American woman to win a Oscar, and it's like right now that's not good. It's so late in history for that to be the first ever Asian American woman to win an Oscar for blank.
Also like when Victoria's Secret does it, it's like, no, you're not the first. You're maybe the first plus size Victoria's Secret model.
Yeah.
But have you been to Kohl's recently? The Kohl's mannequins have been like regular looking people forever.
Yeah, it's yeah, in general, any kind of like first to walk the Victoria's Secret stage, you're not like boasting. You are telling on yourself that it's the right, the first ever plus size woman to walk the Victoria's Secret stage. It just translates to we suck really bad, like really, really, really bad, and we're really late to this party.
Yeah, and they've like I feel like that's always. Well, because it is like having hot women like dress like hot size 0 women dress up in lingerie. It's still like patriarchal.
Yeah.
And it's still like negative even for like the everyday women that do look like those women. It's still bad because they're saying like you like gotta now that you look like us, you gotta dress like us too, kind of thing.
And also even the plus size women that get these opportunities, it's a very like ideal plus size body.
Oh yeah, that's what I was
like,
getting. Yeah. Like it's still like, oh, you picked the hottest woman.
Yeah.
In this weight range. That's still so like upsetting.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, it's not good.
With perfect skin.
And even then.
And hair.
It's still putting her in a position of like being an object of. It's still objectifying. I mean, I think it's
all that saying is, guys want to fuck them too.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I think there's some people find something empowering about modeling and stuff, and there's like something empowering in there, but I think in general, when it's like a big corporation being like, this is what empowering looks like, and it's being naked, it's like.
I feel like that's the conflict there though, because like if those women want to be modeling. Then being a Victoria's Secret model is like that's like making the NBA.
Yeah.
That's like as big as you can get.
Yeah, but it
is like it's empowering in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I just think it's like we tell people what to want and then are like, well, they want to do this. And it's like, yeah, they do. And they do have absolute autonomy in that way. But also they grew up from zero being told to want this. And that's infantilizing in its own right. Like, there's no right way to talk about women as a general thing.
There is literally, well, like, it's because
making women into one group of people is crazy when it's half of the population. It's like you can't be like women because
it's like, also been done for so long in the bad way.
Yeah, there are right ways to do it, and the right way is to just like.
Like, do you find it difficult on stage to talk about women, like other women?
I don't think I generally have like a lot of opinions that generalize women because I spend a lot of time with women, so it will be like. This woman versus like women. You
try to centralize it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I will say I find it difficult even to talk about myself. And the hardest part is that audiences, for the most part, in the kind of comedy that I'm doing, which is like bar comedy, open mic comedy, are not fully listening to you.
Sure.
Almost never are they even mostly listening to you. Yeah. So getting to a place where, like, so I talk about being a fat woman a lot, and I talk about being a plus-size woman a lot, and I use those terms very neutrally because those are just, like...
They are neutral terms.
Yeah, they're neutral terms, and those are just parts of my lived experience where I will get on stage and I'll be like, I'm a fat woman. That's not the joke. That's context.
That's the context.
And then to have then fully well-intentioned women who are not listening be like... No, you're not. You're beautiful. And I'm like, I didn't.
Yeah, those aren't opposites. Those aren't opposites.
Those aren't mutually exclusive things. Like, but because, and so the most of like the bulk of the heckling I've gotten in my comedy career, which is not a lot. People don't tend to heckle me. Is that?
Is women trying to be supportive.
And it's women trying to be nice to me.
And it's just rude.
It's really, really rude. And it's, a lot of times it's like, oh, shut up. No, they're always drunk. So there's that too. But it's always like, oh,
girl,
shut
stop.
up. No, you're not. And it's like, okay, first of all, I'm not saying that as negative. I just said I wasn't saying that as negative. And also, don't tell me to shut up. Like, I'm telling you, like, listen to the punchline. Listen to the joke. Yeah. But because
You know,
people are
yeah.
not, in general, because people are not fully listening to you, you then, it's a tricky thing to navigate of, like, you can put as much nuance as you want into it. People aren't really fully listening to you. And so you can make your jokes worse by adding a whole bunch of disclaimers to them.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, like, you can hope that the people that are listening to you hear you. But whatever your joke is about, the people that are not listening to you are going to not hear you.
I don't think it's yeah, I wouldn't worry about the drunk women.
It's fine. It's just always so, like, annoying.
And isn't it always just a skinny bitch?
It's always just like, it's always just, people who wouldn't get it. And it's like,
Do you think that indicates that, like, somebody just, like, wouldn't be able to laugh at themselves?
I don't know. It's also just that, like, we did all grow up with, like, fat equals ugly. So I get why people have this association with, like, I get where people come from when they say, like, you're not fat, you're beautiful. But it's like, if you are listening to me, you would know that I was not saying anything about that. But then one time I had a woman come up to me after LVT open mic. Like, it wasn't like after a show or anything, and I doubt she was very much listening, but she was like telling me, like, you don't have to put other women down, or, like, you don't have to put women down to be funny. And I'm like, oh my God, you weren't listening to me. But that really got to me because I was like, I don't want people to feel like that's what I'm doing. Because, like, the main thing I love, and it's the one thing I don't like about doing bar comedy and doing comedy in the, like, places that are accessible to me right now, is that I'm not reaching a lot of women. I'm not reaching a lot of, like, queer people that are, like, my people. I'm generally reaching other male comics or, like, male audiences for the most part. And you do have to, like, kind of contort to fit that shape sometimes to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And so that's a weird thing to navigate as a woman. But, like, to have, like, one of the first or one of the only, like, mainly female audiences I've gotten to perform in front of, because it was just, like, a fluke that there were just, like, a bunch of women there that night.
Well, didn't you do, like, a lot of all-women shows, like at the Cleveland Comedy?
I have done a couple of all-women shows, and those have been great for the most part. But I would say that, like, I think I've done 2 all-women shows, but, like, my day-to-day is mostly performing in front of men. And
Honey.
I don't know what that means. But to then have, like, one of the few female audience to have someone say that, like, I really reevaluated it. And, like, I think of when people bring me criticisms like that, I really, really try not to dismiss them. But the conclusion I drew from that was, like, she was not listening. And there's nothing I can do about that. Well,
it's just like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, just the generality of, you have so many different camps that are all right, and they're also all conflicting. You just gotta, like, plow past it, I guess, for most people in most audiences. Just, like, assume, like, nobody's not like when you go, like, if you go up and, like, make fun of liberals, because if you spend, like, time on Twitter or like left-leaning groups, like, liberals are a very specific type of left-leaning person, usually like Democrat people who call themselves Democrats, and, like, they still, like, are in favor of, like, the rich and stuff, like,
Yeah.
But like, for people in left-leaning communities, like, that distinction is there. But you got to realize, like, when you go to the comedy club and you just say liberal, you're talking about 50% of the country. You're talking about, even though you think you're only talking about, like, 12% of the country, in the audience's eyes, you're making a statement about half of this country.
Yeah.
When you just say stuff like that.
There was a joke. My opening joke for a very long time was, my name is Cam Godfrey. I'm a fat gay Jew. So all the words you're not allowed to say as insults anymore. If you want to talk shit, you have to do it the politically correct way and call me a bitch.
Yeah.
The liberals are still cool with that one. for some reason. Like, so the joke was like about these like centrist Democrats that like are all, you know, they're woke or whatever, but the
girl
like
bosses.
Yeah, but they're still calling each other bitches, and they're still like, I think that there's context to it. I do think that in general, sometimes when if you call a woman a bitch, you can tell when that's someone who is speaking in a misogynistic way that wouldn't call a man that.
Oh, it's all context.
It's all that's what I'm saying. It's all context. But joke was a criticism of that kind of liberal of like, you can't call me these things that I am, but you can call me a bit. I don't know. There was some layer to it.
No, it's a good opening premise.
But there was some layer to it, and then I removed bitch, and I removed the liberal thing because it was just like I came off sounding like a Republican. When I made that was the first thing I said, or I came off sounding like a right-wing person because I said this liberal thing.
Isn't it crazy how when you're being funny, you got to make sure people don't think you're conservative?
I usually don't run into that problem. I feel like you probably run into that problem a lot more than I do. But what I changed it to was, you have to call me a cunt. And so there was no nuance to that joke.
Cunt's funny.
That was just cunt is funnier. It worked better, and it didn't put me off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And it was, but there's no meaning to that joke anymore. Like, I'm not criticizing anything. It's just like, there doesn't have to be. There doesn't have to be.
But to yourself, you know the meaning. You're making fun of liberals, but you just don't. You just leave it out.
Yeah.
You just leave it out.
But it's just interesting that like.
As long as you're happy.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't use that joke as much anyway. I try not to say Jew, to be honest. Lately I've been trying to say Jewish person to the extent that I can because of how bad anti-Semitism has gotten.
It's all about confidence. It's all about confidence.
It's weird. The thing we were talking about this kind of with women too, of like making generalizations, and the obstacle we have, talking about women as a general entity is that like so many people have done it so horribly throughout history. I feel the same way with Jewish people, where just like anti-Semitism is the most hack thing you can do because it dates back to like the Middle Ages. It's like so.
It's the oldest trick in the book.
Anti-Semitism is the oldest trick in the book. So you have to be smart and really clever and really dodging some obstacles to be making a good Jew joke. And as a Jewish person, I think my comedy about Judaism comes from my like experience as a Jewish person.
Oh, when you talk about Judaism, you're talking about like every comic who's like, I was raised Catholic and now I'm not, and here's my criticism of the church experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'll see people who are also Jewish make like penny pinching Jew jokes or whatever, and they'll say like, I can say this because I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
And you can.
Yeah.
Like, you have every right to. It's still hack.
It's just not funny.
It's still not clever or funny. Yeah. It's really, really hacky because that stereotype is literally Middle Ages old. Like, it's like
even the, you know how it's like, I don't understand why people say black people love fried chicken, because everybody loves fried chicken. It's like, I don't understand even the turning the Jew thing on its head. It's like, why do people always make fun of Jews for loving money? Everybody loves money. That kind of thing. Even that's old as, even that's fucking old as fuck.
And it's a lot of the way you have to approach it. I do think that there are some things that are just outright offensive, but a lot of the time, most of the time, and I think I've been desensitized through doing comedy like a lot more. I used to be a very, very, very sensitive person.
Yeah, you did.
But and I'm still very sensitive, and I think sensitivity is a virtue, but I do think that most of it is like, you have to be funny and you can't be hacky. It's not like, it's a lot of my like offended or like I think people think I'm very sensitive. I think I'm very easily offended. A lot of my like what's coming off as offended is that I'm just not laughing because it's just not
Yeah,
funny.
it's just not funny. What I do love, and this is another point for the fellas, is that we're fair game. Everybody agrees. All men bad. That's the rule now. That's the rule in mainstream media. That's the rule in comedy. That's the rule in everything. Men bad. So now, I can, because there's like I can make fun of other dudes. Like we talk about the bed sheet. It used to bother me when women like would generalize like, oh, men in the dating world suck because they don't have bed sheets and they only have one pillow and they don't know how to cook or stuff. It's just like, and that used to bother me because I'd be like, I bet you I'm cleaner than you. Like the women that made it. It's like, I bet you my house is tidier than yours. My, my hygiene and all that stuff. But I've just stopped worrying about that, and now I lean into it. I was like, fellas, let's get our shit together. Like putting myself in the we. Now I just put myself in that pool of men bad.
Yeah.
And it's all fair game because but there are also super sensitive men who are like, why you got to say that stuff, bro? Yeah. But most guys, whether they're fit or not, or sloppy or not, like we're all just like, yeah, we suck. Yeah, laugh it up. We suck. We suck. We suck. We suck. We suck. We just hear it over and over again. And so now it's just like, yeah, whatever.
I think one of the things with talking about men, because there's that like kind of general opinion or whatever, even if it's a joking opinion, that general like men bad
Some people,
thing.
yeah, but dude, there's so many women out there that are genuinely like, if you're a white man, we can't have a conversation.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is this like weird joke that became not a joke anymore in a weird way. But I think one of the things with talking about men is that you are not fighting against that initial of like where if you're talking about women, even if the joke is not a generalization of women, even if the joke is not mad, you are bad. You are fighting against an initial feeling.
As soon as it starts, the audience is like, where are they going?
But but that feeling isn't like unwarranted. That feeling comes from a place of like comedy has historically been like really.
My wife is
So like everyone is that's a very natural reaction. I don't think that's like a, these people are too uptight kind of thing. I think that like for women, that's like the likelihood you're gonna say something bad is pretty high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like that is like a natural place, but as a comic, it's an obstacle for us. We're then fighting against it. I have a joke about that I've always told that's like about like interracial sex, and like I say in it that's like I can't get into that kind of sex, and it's not the punchline is about me being too like me having too much white guilt and me like being too like that like Instagram woke kind of thing, and the joke is on me the whole time.
Yeah.
But I say I don't like interracial sex in it. And everybody has
strong way to start.
Everybody has, which it's not true, but it's like the joke is about like I need to be an ally through the whole, and it makes me nervous tonight. But it's like whatever. The joke, I stand by that joke, but I know that punchline has to be funny enough for me to like combat all of the that everyone's feeling.
I'm teaching myself this recently, like just be smooth. Like if you're dealing with like a shaky topic or premise, like when you get to the words that people resist, don't like pause and like try to just like be smooth and ride past them. Your punchline will absolve you of all sins. Like Jeff Dye's got a great joke where he's just like men and women, we are not equal. And like usually like a lesser comic would pause and be like, what, you don't, but like, no, he's just smooth and kind. He just goes, men and women, we're not equal. We're not, whether you like it or not, you're not, and you know it, and we all know it. Think about it. All the couples here, when you hired a babysitter, did you pick a dude? We're not like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like all that rocky stuff, he didn't stop and wait for he's like, I got you guys. He's like smooth with it.
And I just a lot of comics like a lot of like open mic comics. Sometimes the punchline doesn't.
Well, yeah, open micers.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
But then so you'll get you'll keep that uptight. And the only jokes I have that make people feel that way, the only ones I tell, which I think it might be that one and like one other one. The only jokes I tell that make people feel that way are because I stand by the punchline is funny and I know who I am in the joke. But sometimes you can't because sometimes the audience is too tight and like it's not gonna.
Gotta get them loose.
Yeah.
And the other thing I forgot about that babysitter joke is, as he's the Rocky territory of we're not equal. The punchline is we're not equal and women are better.
Yeah.
The punchline is women are better, not men are better, which is also what helps him out. That was the whole first episode.
Wow, all about what was that?
We talked about women the entire time.
Well, I mean,
so Victoria's Secret fashion
show let
good or bad
comedy, yeah.
Good or bad?
Bad.
What if we didn't have it?
The world wouldn't change.
Yeah, but listen, you can't go wrong with ass and titties.
Listen, there's ass and titties everywhere.
Oh yeah, there are. Okay. With that, we'll end the first episode.
Look at that.
If you like that first episode with Cam, her second episode comes out next week, and we talk about trivia, social media, and Taylor Swift. So tune in next week, every Tuesday.